Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. What I'm going to be talking to you tonight about, we're going to be talking about the fire kit that I alluded to on the last video. I wanted to show you some of the inexpensive ways to do the fire kit. We'll show you several little quick ways to make some fire. I'm going to cover just kind of a half a dozen or so different ways to do it, and all these are really inexpensive ways. In fact, what I'm going to show you is my homemade fire tender. I'm going to show you some wood that I picked up out of the backyard, and some that I gathered as I walked through the woods. Some I have, that I've picked up off of Amazon for different fire starters and whatnot. I'm just going to show you some of those because some of those are pretty interesting. They're all very inexpensive. I have several different kinds of lighters that I'm going to show you. And while I will show you the ferrule rod, while having a ferrule rod is always good to have, it'd be my last resort using that, simply because it's a primitive skill, and it's a primitive tool. It's something that if you pack well, you'll always have one. It's good to have. But in my opinion, it makes a lot of sense to carry a big lighter, a Zippo, and carry things to refill your lighters if you carry a Zippo or an off-brand Zippo, or if you carry another butane-filled lighter, or I also have a plasma lighter I'll be showing you how that works. I actually have a butane lighter that it's been packed up so long that the butane is leaked out of it, which is par for the course. That being said, that's another thing that when you make these kits, you do need to go back and service them, make sure that everything's serviceable, and it's a good idea to check them about once a month if you don't use them. This particular one I bought, it was brand new. It was supposed to have been full, but obviously they either didn't put very much in there, or it had been sitting on the shelf so long when I purchased it that the pressure had leaked off. I had a can of butane refill, but I have refilled so many kitchen lighters and barbecue lighters around this house that I've taken most of the pressure off of it, so I'm going to have to get another one so I can fill it up, and I'll show that to you here in a little while. I'm also planning on showing you a blast match, which is basically it's a one-hand emergency lighter, and it's a ferrule rod based lighter in case you're injured and you don't have a Bic or Zippo or any number of other lighters. It's good to keep this as a backup, because a ferrule rod, even when it's wet, will still light a fire. So while I do have some storm-proof matches over there that I'll be showing you some of those, I also just kind of want to show you just some basic things. I have learned over time that whittling on wood is one way to dull a knife pretty quickly. So one thing that I have added to my kit is a pencil sharpener. Now, that while that sounds crazy, I'm going to show you here in just a little bit how that pencil sharpener works. And I've actually found an aluminum pencil sharpener instead of plastic because it'll be less likely to break on you. But they come in packages of 3 or 4 or 5, and they're pretty inexpensive, just a few bucks. So I'll show you that, and basically what you end up doing is you take a stick, and a lot of times you can find sticks that are natural sized off of little bushes and trees and whatnot that you can just stick right up in there, just like about the size of a pencil, and just twist it around and make little filings, and so that you can use those to help start your fire. But that's what it's used for. It's used to help save your knife. I always carry a knife sharpener or 2 or 3. Not everybody packs like I do, but I do believe in redundancy. That's something that the military is put in my head pretty hard. And also, growing up in the country, hunting, fishing, camping, tracking, doing all those things that country boys, tend to do. That was something that my both parents actually, pushed pretty hard, and my granddad as well. So I'll be showing you a few of those things. And it's likely that you'll see a lot of video and may not be a lot of talking while I'm doing certain things. I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of what I was going to be doing. And what I'll do here is I'll just kind of start at the top and kind of work my way through. I'm going to show you a couple of different knives that I use, and you're subject to use any number of knives. So whatever is most comfortable for you, I suggest that you use something that you like. I suggest that you practice with it and get used to using it, and also learn to sharpen it. And there are lots of quick sharpeners out there that you can get. In fact, you can go to Walmart and pick up half a number of ones that I like the Smith stuff. They have, this one you can actually use. It's large enough that you can actually use it on a long blade, or you can use it on a machete. You can use it actually on a hatchet. And I actually have another one that I purchased just recently that is specifically for axes and hatchets, but it looks like this. It's just the big brother to it. But it wasn't very expensive. I think this one was like $10. So it's a handy tool, and it's easy to use. You just basically take your blade and take your sharpener and use your sharpener to pull down the blade. And this one this is a carbide tip on here, so you really want to use this for when it's really dull. On a knife like the one that I'm using, this particular blade has been used a lot. As you might can see, it's got a lot of scratches and damage on it, but it's been well used. This one, what I usually do is I won't have to, because I use it and sharpen it so often, I usually don't use this one. I usually use a ceramic sharpener to sharpen it, or even a leather strop. It's pretty sharp. In fact, if it will actually, it'll shave. But because of this particular grind that's on this blade, it's good for carving on wood and doing little projects and that sort of thing. As you start to work your wood and make your little curls, depending on your wood, some of your wood is really hard, like this wood that I'm working on right here. It's seasoned oak, and it's gotten pretty hard. I can still pull little curls off of it, and that's, you know, what you want to do is you want to get you a little pile of curls to work with. Some people will take a poplar and different woods that are a little softer to work to do your fire with, and this just what I had in the yard that was easy to get to. You know, I didn't go out in the woods and do a lot of wood gathering or anything like that. But you know, you can use any kind of knife, you know, to do this. You know, you can use any kind of wood that you run across, whether the drier the better. You can get away with some green wood when you're getting started, but you really want it to be dead or dry to work with, because it's the wetter it is, the harder it is to start. So, you know, if you happen to be lucky enough to have found rich pine or pine knot, that's what we use around here a lot. In fact, that's what this stump is right here that I'm using. It's a rich pine log that I cut off into a stump, and I have quite a bit of it split into smaller pieces, and it's impregnated with natural oils, and so it starts fire pretty easy. That's what I use to start in my fireplace, and if I'm out hunting or whatever and want a fire, or at the camp or whatever, that's usually what I use, is rich pine. And what we'll do is we'll trim this down so that I can show you what I was talking about the pencil sharpener. And what that'll actually do is, once you actually get it small enough to fit in the pencil sharpener, you'll actually be able to save your blade. And so, as you'll see, this pencil sharpener has two different size holes. One's small and one's large. So you'll just take your wood and trim it down to fit into the one that it will start fitting into. And if it won't fit right away, then that's okay. What you'll have to do is just trim it up a little bit until it does. What that's going to do is it's actually going to give you a few more curls, and it may be that it's easier for you not to worry about the pencil sharpener. It's just another idea of how to add another tool to your kit. You know, you'll see that I add quite a bit of tools to my kit, and it's actually much larger than anybody really needs to make it. Now, basically, once you get your kit and you get out, I suggest practice using it. Even if you don't make a long lasting fire with it right off, just practice using it. You know, it doesn't hurt to learn how to make these little curls. You know, see if Now these curls are exactly that, just little wood shavings, curls. These are some from that other wood that I was trimming, and you can mix them together, and that's what I would suggest doing anyway. But you get your pencil size wood, and then you start working it until you make these little shavings. And it's just like a regular pencil. And then usually once you get it going, you know, man, you can just really crank out the shavings. And it's really pretty cool when you get it going. I mean, it's like, it's like perfect little shavings. It gives it a lot of surface area for your sparks to find a place to land, and you can really smell the turpentine. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to half these up into separate piles so that you can see what this is a one-handed blast match that I was talking about, and basically just so you have to be able to squeeze it and push it at the same time. Now I'm trying not to push too hard up on this stump, but at the same time well, now it's going to be it's going to show you how difficult it is. And one of the issues is this is new, and so it's still has a coating on it, and so until you get that coating off of it, it doesn't spark like it will once you get the coating off of it. So again, it's something that you need to practice with, because once you practice with it, you can see exactly what you need to do to make it work. It's all of this. All of this is something that you need to work with. In fact, you know, these different tenders and cotton balls and all that other business is just stuff that you need to practice with. So this one-handed blast match, wow, well, it's a good idea, and it's actually issued to Air Force pilots, according to what I've read, in case of emergency for one-handed need. You can see while ferro rods are good to have, they're not always dependable, especially when you haven't taken a lot of time with this and prepared the surface and practiced with it and got used to it. Now, just a standard ferro rod. Should be able to get it in one spot, but again, these are wood shavings. So this brings up the need for other fire source. So these are some of those cotton balls that I made the other day. We'll see if it'll just catch a spark from a regular old ferro rod. There you go. I knew sooner or later it'd catch. But again, it goes to practice. When you do it good and you get good at it, it's one of those things that you'll get to where you could do it in one or two strikes. And somebody that trying to build a fire to me, that's the importance of having all these little extra tools to use. When you get something that will take a spark, and not all the time your tinder, just that example of what we just did, show you that tinder doesn't always do like you want it to do. And this is like a prime situation. I'm sitting right here in front of my fireplace doing something that I should be able to do with no issue, and yet it took extra time that I wasn't planning. And there really are all kinds of things that you can do as far as making a fire kit on a budget. These little cotton makeup pads were $1 for a sleeve of 50, I believe, and the candle was another $1. Now there's going to be a sped up section of this video that you'll be watching that will actually show me boiling the candles, or the candle wax down. It will be showing me dipping these cotton pads in there and then laying them out on a cookie pan and let them cool off. And when they finally cooled off, well, I popped them off and put them in a Ziploc baggie, and some of them I put in the refrigerator for later on. Some of them I packed away, and some of them I set over here getting ready to show you guys all these different fire tools. Now, I'm a little frustrated by the one-handed fire starter, but I believe we'll be able to get it. It's just going to take practice and determination. And there is a trick to it. I just haven't. It's supposed to be a squeeze. Like I said, I've got and it could be that I've got one that's maybe faulty, because I've watched guys use these online and they did not have near the issue. And if you see, this is not even throwing sparks right now. It's very seldom will I see one. And that one or two strikes that I actually got it, it's already cut a big groove on it. So that's concerning. I may be sending this one back and getting another one. But that's where product reviews come in, and sometimes you get good ones and sometimes you don't. This one is a good name brand, and it could be that I just happened to get a bad one. It could be that I'm not doing it right. All that being said, I will certainly be contacting the manufacturer to talk about this and see what the situation might be, is if I did something wrong, or whether or not whether it's just a product not functioning properly. So I'll get back to you on that, because this is something that that I've seen so many videos on, and did so well on all the videos. I'm quite disappointed, just to be honest. Now, there are a lot of different products that you can use to do fire extender. These cotton pads were things that I made. Like I said, it cost a couple of bucks to make them. I will, since I've already burned one, I'm not gonna do another one right off. But I will show you a few different ones to just kind of show you how they work. I think that there's some pretty neat ones that are down here, and I have been using these others for a long time. These others are pretty phenomenal. Now these are called wet fire, and wet fire are pretty good little fire starters, and you don't have to use all of it. In fact, I would recommend that you do just what I'm doing right here, and you take your knife and you just shave off a little bit of it, because it's not going to take much to get everything going. Now I can show you a different source of ignition. This is also a UST. It's a lighter, but it's a different kind of lighter. It's actually a plasma lighter. And if you can see, when you push the button, you get this little spark of plasma across there. That's all she took. Now one of these little wet fire will burn for quite a while. That's why I didn't light the whole little block. They'll last 3 to 5 minutes, which is plenty long enough to get a fire started. In fact, if you already had some little shavings together, you could just start taking your shavings, put on top of that, and then your little wood, and then the next larger size wood. That's something that a lot of people don't talk about, is the proper way to build a fire. A lot of people want to take and get pieces of wood that are twice as big as your thumb, and then they want to take and light some leaves or some paper up underneath that, and just walk away and start adding bigger pieces of wood and bigger pieces of wood. But you really start much smaller than that. You start out with some shavings or some really tiny sticks that are dry. And in fact, if you can find pine straw or some bark that you can make like a bird's nest that makes it even easier to get started. But you take that, something like that will take a spark, a lighter, a match, a source of fire, and then you put your little shavings on top of that, and then you put your small sticks like these on top of the next, and you start adding larger and larger and larger. But what you're trying to do, the whole purpose of that is to build a bed of coals. Once your bed of coals is built, that's when you start putting on your bigger wood. You don't put your bigger wood on right away because it'll smother the fire. Your fire has to have a way to get started. So you build your fire from the ground up, literally. You put it out on a dry spot. I use this. It's fireproof, so it was easy. If you didn't have this, let's say, for example, you're making a fire out in the woods. It's been raining. Well, I always carry tinfoil in my fire kit. And I've had a lot of people question me, why are you carrying tinfoil? Well, I'm not carrying necessarily a whole lot, but I'm carrying at least enough to cover 1 square foot. And I'm doing that for a couple of reasons. One, I can take that and I can set that out on the ground for a dry surface. Then I can put my shavings and start my fire on top of it. Now what that does is it keeps the moisture that's in the ground away from your fire to get started. It'll allow your fire to get going. When you're in a bad situation and you need that fire, you want to give that fire every chance that you can. You want to make it's almost impossible to go out as you can, because that fire in emergency could be your lifeline. Nobody goes into the woods thinking, I'm going to need to make an emergency fire today. I don't know anybody who's ever thought that way. Most people don't go in the woods thinking the worst is going to happen. So the idea is to plan for it. The idea is to make sure that when you go in the woods that you can make fire. There are all sorts of different types of options. I'll show you another one right quick. It's actually 2 of them. These are UCO storm matches. Stormproof matches is actually what they're called. These matches they are absolutely phenomenal. This particular, when you buy these, they come with the extra striker pads that go on the side. It already has one out there, but it comes with the extra, which is a good thing. You never know when you're going to need extra. It also comes inside the cat with cotton ball. This particular cotton ball, it has a little bit of wax impregnation in it. Now, if you'll give me just a second, I'm going to walk over here and get a little glass of water so I can show you something that's pretty neat. So that is just a jar of water. Here's your match. Alright. Now that is pretty cool, but watch. That is pretty neat. Now, the fact that I stuck it back in the water and it came back alive is pretty neat. It just shows you that that match, what it's made of, what it's got on it, even in a rainstorm, will still light and still burn. So no matter what your situation, if you carry multiple options like these stormproof matches, like this plasma lighter, like this Zippo style lighter, it'll light every time. Or big. You can always start it. And even with these one-handed blast matches, we're going to figure it out. I'm going to figure out what I did wrong, and I'll come back and show you a video where it works, because I know they do. I just happened to have one that didn't, or I didn't know what I was doing. So I'm not going to blame the product. It's a good product. I've seen too many people do amazing videos with them, lighting things that I couldn't even, I couldn't have figured out how to light them. Not one-handed, but I know this is a good product. I just got to figure it out. So when I do, we'll do another video and I'll show you. And if you notice something, I've kind of got this thing going with my lighters being all orange. I saw on Alone, which is a series, and I think it's Discovery, might be History, I'm not sure which one of the programs it is, but on one of those programs on Alone, a gentleman went out and had started his Alone series where he had to survive as long as he could, and on like day 5 or something like that, he ended up losing his ferrule rod, and it either rolled off in the fire or it ran off in the water or whatever, but he could not find it. That's when I knew that from that point forward, whatever my fire source would be, I will always have it wrapped in bright orange or something that I can find that you can see, because that orange you will see if you drop it, even if you kick the leaves over. This product is called Pyro Putty. Now they've got several different blends they call it, but I just chose this one because it was blue. I like blue, so it screws on, but you can light it in the can, if you want. I'm just going to take some out here on this little. A lot of people, that's why they got the screw-on lid, is so that you can light it in the can, but I'm not going to do that today. I'm just going to light it here. And since I've already used the others, and like I say, when you trying to build your fire, as you see, it naturally will want to get bigger and bigger, and you build up your embers that way. As you see, those little embers are all the way around the fire. They'll burn until they burn themselves out. But what it does is it gives you, every time you add a layer of embers to build, it builds that bed up, and then once you get enough embers on there of a certain size, you just keep going up. Now, I'm not going to take and burn all these because we'll end up with a sure enough fire. Now, one thing I haven't shown you that I think is a good idea to have is a bellows. And if you don't have one, this is a bellows. It's a collapsible straw made of metal that allows you to put air to the fire and once you got a fire going, you got these embers, and you want to get them going. Like I say, these embers are pretty much burnt out, but when you actually have a set of coals, you can take your bellows and you can work on it by putting air into the bottom. You still got a coal sitting there, so you know, worst case scenario, you might could work it back up from that little bit. Nah, it's pretty much burnt out. There's no heat from my hand. And that's pretty much how you would tell if your coal is your coals have gone so burnt down that you can't do anything with them. That you can put your hand over the coals to see if there's any heat. If there's no heat, there's nothing to work with. If it's still got heat on it, you can blow it back. But it's always good to carry yourself a bellows. And they're not very expensive either. You can get a bellows like this for between $3 and $6. So I think that'd be a handy tool to have. I always have one in my toolkit, and there are lots and lots of different options for fire. Also, like I said, if you're going to carry a Zippo, always carry the things that you need to replace usable parts, like the flint, the wick, and always carry your fluid. You know, now these guys, you know, this is Zippo fluid and Zippo brand wicks and flints. These guys did not sponsor this. No one sponsored this but myself. But Zippo has good product. You know, these UCO brand is a really good brand of product as well. In fact, the wet fire is also good. Let's see what the brand is on that. Okay, so UST. So any of these guys that make these products that have gone into it and stayed in business as long as they have, most of them have pretty good products. The difference in a good product is a bad product, and a lot of cases are just people not using them. And the truth is, a lot of them are very similar, but you don't know if they're good or bad until you get them and try them. Sometimes you get products that are usually good, but then during testing you find out that one might be faulty. That's the nature of purchasing things that are made. If it's made by a person or even by a machine, there are things that may not be working properly. They may not be seated properly, and that's okay. That's all part of it. The best thing we can do is when we get a product, try it out, see if it's working well. If it's working good, then great. Add it to your pack. Don't put it in the package and expect it to be good if you've not checked it out. You know, to me, that's really important. Now, I've been going at this for quite a while, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably end this here pretty quick and set up some more videos. But thank you for taking a walk with me here at Midnight Amongst Monsters, and I'm looking forward to seeing you soon. Have a good day.